Once again, this is Jitender Khokar, Public Services Director for City of College Park. This is our first meeting in the series of every month Monday meetings for public safety, portfolio. We had earlier advertised for a gentleman by the name Mike Kamal. He worked for Department of Justice, but he couldn't make it because he wasn't feeling well to participate in this meeting. So we made an alternate change here, and I have one of our vendors for stop sign camera project. His name is Dhruv Maheshwari. He is on the call. Having said that, Dhruv, please take it from here for your particular product that you have been trying to uh, get us experienced with and understand that product, which we probably will be considering, in next few months. Dhruv Maheshwari.
Thanks so much for the introduction. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Amazing. Well, happy Monday to everybody. My name is Dhruv, and I'm the co-founder of Obvio. I think I've met quite a number of people in this room before, and I think some of you may see me familiar from either a council meeting or one or two of the community meetings that we've done in the interim. What I thought I'd do quickly in 5 or 10 minutes is just walk through a little bit of our experience with traffic safety and stop signs here in Prince George's County. And I'll quickly just share my screen to walk through a couple of slides about what we've been doing, learning as a company, and how we hope that we can help College Park and some of the other neighboring municipalities. So a core ethos for us is that there aren't any accidents. Crashes are preventable, and it's our job to figure out a way to either instill a culture of safety and educate and train and enforce the way that we can to make sure that driving behavior improves over time. My background is, we've actually been working in traffic safety for years. I had built a small device. It was a $200 truck device where we would put it on the front of a commercial vehicle. It would scan the road looking for unsafe driving behavior from the truck driver, and it would always give feedback. Are people speeding? Are people skipping stop signs? Are people swerving lanes? And based on that feedback, it led to a 25% reduction in crashes across 200,000 trucks all across the United States. And so, me and my co-founder were pretty inspired by seeing those kind of results and wanted to bring this to the world of our communities and our towns and our police departments to figure out, can this technology be even more helpful? And generally one of the things that we keep hearing is that roadways just feel more unsafe than ever before. You kind of feel it when you're walking around the streets. You see people skipping stop signs, you see people driving a little bit faster. And what we sort of realized, and we spent a lot of time with different municipalities, including College Park, studying the number of people running stop signs, and the numbers were staggering. Over 20,000 per day across just a few municipalities. And this was by putting up our camera across just a few locations, sometimes 2, sometimes 4. In the case of College Park, we measured 9. But you can see the sort of aggregate sum of violations on a daily basis that these towns are experiencing. And just trying to get a handle of this problem is hard because you have less officers than you have before. There's sort of a wider range of reckless behaviors. It's not just speeding. And in the past, there has been some hesitation around camera enforcement. But you have people running stop signs all across your cities and Prince George's County as a whole. So how do you kind of cover that much area with so few officers? And so, we went ahead and built this program called Let's Drive Safer. It's a sort of new community-oriented stop sign enforcement program. And, it starts with sort of our technology, which is, advanced technology that can be built and deployed within days, that can detect all sorts of different kinds of unsafe driving behavior. The next piece of this is sort of focusing on the community and building transparency and building awareness to drive a culture of safety. And finally, doing this kind of citywide to create a sense of deterrence and make people feel, like they should be more accountable for their own behaviors and aware of sort of the impact of these behaviors on their community. And in terms of just how the technology works, it's a solar powered device, and the same camera can detect multiple types of behaviors like speeding, like stop sign violations. And again, our goal is to help build a better understanding of the risky behaviors known to cause crashes. This is a video from Forest Heights, but we've now deployed in we have 6 cameras in Morningside, we have 3 in Colmar Manor. Berwyn Heights is about to start their 3 camera program. Capitol Heights, there's a lot of municipalities starting to move forward. Um, and the goal here is how do we build a culture of safety across these different communities? There's sort of 3 aspects to our program that we really focus on. One is collective responsibility. So making sure that everybody's aware of the sort of problem in the community. And so we talk about sort of transparency and sharing the data with the community. And the second thing is making sure that we have community buy-in by doing meetings like this and showcasing actual videos of the risky behavior within the community, which I'll flip to in a second. And finally, celebrating the results that we have. Citation revenue that does get generated has to be used towards public safety and roadways. And so sort of showcasing that any violations that were collected went back to investments in the community, and also showcasing that the driver behavior changed over time is a big part of what we're trying to do. And you'll probably see these as you drive through Colmar Manor and Morningside and some of these other towns. There's a real movement that's starting, the Let's Drive Safer movement, where people are putting these things on their cars because they really just want people to slow down, pay a little bit more attention when they drive. And a couple of key pieces about our program is, we have a huge emphasis on privacy. Um, you know, it's a novel thing for people to start putting cameras in their community, but we've really focused it on targeting this behavior, traffic violations only, and only those kind of violation videos leave the device. The data is fully the property of the municipality, and the camera is wiped every 12 hours as per the municipality preference. And so this is, purely a tool for traffic safety. And the second piece of this is the legislation focuses on children in school zones. So it's not, deploying cameras everywhere and having this big like surveillance movement. It's actually just really pinpointing areas that we know are problem areas. Again, highlighting with signage and different sorts of tools to really make the community aware. And the goal is if no one skips the stop sign and no citation revenue is generated, it's a win for the entire community. And so what I thought I'd do in this presentation is quickly walk through some of the data that we actually collected through a pilot program with College Parks. Um, and so, this is a link that's accessible. It's called letsdrivesafer.com/college-park. And when you visit this, you can sort of see the different areas that we actually did studies on. And the goal of these studies were to really understand, how bad is the driving behavior. And there's some places where we saw a pretty high violation rate, hundreds of violations all in a given day. And what we did is we anonymized these videos to just sort of start seeing some of the driving behavior. And it was remarkable to sort of see, even when you have a pedestrian sort of crossing on the street, again, likely near a school zone, um, you see the same kind of behavior that people do. And that's really the thing, which is people feel like, rolling through stop signs.
Yeah, St. Andrews.
Sorry, what was that?
Nothing, continue.
Okay. I was gonna say, everyone sort of feels like, hey, I don't really see any cars. I can just sort of like cruise through the stop sign. It's just those moments where you have a pedestrian nearby that you don't even realize. And once the behavior is sort of set into your muscle memory, it's really hard to change that. And so our goal here, again, with this portal, with this community, is really making people aware of the problem in the community. And with the deployment of stop sign enforcement cameras, is to add a layer of accountability. And again, the goal here is, put these cameras up, make them visible. We actually, and I'll pull up a picture in a second. We actually went so far as painting some of the poles to make them really, really stand out. But our goal is if we can make uh, driver behavior change, then it's a win for us, for residents, as well as for the town as a whole. This is a quick picture. Zoom in for just a second. In Colmar Manor, we had a chance to start our program and actually make an installation. And we gave it a community-based design. So we actually, had different people design it and get some ideas from the community. And again, the goal was to make it a little bit more of a piece of art, something that people actually see, because if they see it, they know that they should come to a complete stop. And that's the goal for our program. So that's a little bit about our program. There's a lot of interesting data that you can take a look at. This is Calvert Road in Rhode Island. We saw close to 185 violations a day. It's
Okay.
I think the internet might be a little bit slow.
It's blowing right through it. Yeah.
And what's special about our technology is that we can actually sort of detect when there's a pedestrian in scene or a scooter in scene, to actually help highlight some of the risky notes. And similar to most sort of speed and red light camera programs, any video that's detected and shared has to be shared to the law enforcement first for them to approve it to do any sort of warning letter citation. And based on that, the citation is actually given. Guy's driving on the wrong side of the road. Now we have the ability, and what we typically do when we start working with municipalities is we have the ability to filter these into rolling stops, medium violations, and what we'd call more egregious violations. And the goal really is, you focus on the most intense violations to start with, and only then, do you create the behavior change that you want. And of course, some of the ones that are lesser citations aren't necessarily the ones that end up being citations. But overall, our focus is gather the amount of data, showcase that to the community, and make sure that even as the program starts, we're being transparent about the kinds of violations that we're seeing, the kinds of change in behavior, and the both any citation revenue that is generated, how that's reinvested into the community. And so I'll pause there. I think that's sort of most of our program. One key thing is I showed you a photo of our unit, but in general, these installs are less than 3 days. They have very high quality videos and sensors, and they're powered all year round thanks to solar power. So we kind of pride ourselves in having something that's quick and painless and easy to use. And as I showed you with that photo from Colmar Manor, something that actually adds some art to your community as well as public safety. And with that, happy to take any questions or feedback about the program. I guess I can call on folks, or Jitendra, do you want to?
Yeah, no, yeah, you go ahead and you see anybody's hands up. Like I think the one at the corner, David Siegel.
Yes.
Please go ahead, David.
Thank you. The technology looks very interesting. What I don't see is how you get from the picture to the citation. That is, who do you give the picture to? What do you think they're going to do with it, given you're dealing with a city that doesn't have a police department?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, in most municipalities, after we have a violation that's generated, it gets immediately uploaded and shared with law enforcement. And law enforcement typically will review the video, and if they click the approve button, we will connect with the DMV and mail the citation on behalf of the municipality. You know, we actually have this portal, and I can pull it up. It's called letsdrivesafer.com. This is where somebody can go in to both view their video, pay their citation, or contest it, and then they can pay their citation and also see sort of like why they received that violation. Now, in the case of College Park, my understanding is that College Park, for its speed and red light programs, partners with the county police department to help with their authorization and approval of these violations. And so similarly with these stop sign programs, we'd want to do something similar.
So the DMV actually issues the citation?
So we mail the citation with our system, but the citation template comes from the city of College Park.
Okay, David, I think the way this is going to work is like the camera generates the violation, and you know, the vendor who is selected does the paperwork and sends out those, but they go on behalf of City of College Park Public Safety Division. And we do have our contract police officer who evaluated from the purposes of public safety. It's the decision of the officer who is reviewing those tickets. And that's after they have reviewed it and finalized it, that's when it goes out. Did that answer your question, David?
If it works, yes. Given how few officers we have and how overworked they are.
David, I think to address your concern, I think our officers already review speed camera tickets. This will be no different than how they do that. So, they will be following the PG County police protocols and Maryland state laws. And this is going to be no different than any other like red light camera or speed camera enforcement. It'll be on the same basis.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure how well those programs work, but you've answered my question.
We have a question in the room.
Okay, so we have David Dorsch. He has a question. Please go ahead, David.
Well, it's not so much a question. It's, I've lived here for about 50 years, and I've seen over that time, things kind of change. I don't doubt what you're saying about the cars driving through stop signs, etc. But one of the things I do notice these days is students have no idea about traffic safety whatsoever. They come up to an intersection, they don't even look to see if there's a car coming. They step right out in the street and walk across. I'm amazed we haven't had more accidents with people getting hurt. And not only do they walk straight across the street, but a lot of times they'll kind of zigzag through the middle of the intersection across the street. It's like, what cars? There are cars here? I don't know anything about it. That's one thing. The other thing is I've noticed, especially on some of our narrower streets, some of these people, again, mainly because we're here in College Park, are students, and they just open the door to the car without even looking to see if there's a car coming down the street. I've almost hit 3 or 4 people doing that, and it's kind of nerve-wracking when you're driving and something like this happens. Now, of course, the other thing is, these days, we're getting more and more people on scooters and other various electronic devices that are running all over the place. I don't know that they know where they're supposed to be operating those scooters. Are they supposed to be in the bike lanes? Are they supposed to be on the street? Or are they supposed to be on the sidewalk? I just had one, was coming over here, actually, coming out of Lido's. Some guy, I'm walking down the street, some guy comes behind me on a scooter. We didn't pass by more than a half inch. If I'd have moved over a little bit, he'd run right into me. Now, when we're skiing in the mountains and so forth, you come up behind somebody, you gotta tell them on your left, on your right, that's where you're gonna pass them. And all the time I've been here, I've only had one person do that, and that was a couple of weeks ago. They were running down the sidewalk right behind me, and as soon as they got to where I was, they said, on your left, on your right. You know, so things are changing. I don't know that it's 100% the car's fault. Obviously, I'm not saying they're doing a good thing if they're not stopping at the stop signs like they're supposed to. But I think we need to broaden the picture a little bit and say, well, we have other problems, you know, here in the city as well, with the traffic type stuff.
I think, David, it's a great feedback that you have given. And definitely, like someone going on an e-scooter with a phone on one hand and driving with one hand, definitely create more risk. We do have, like, I think University of Maryland Police Department, they have a registration program, and they are trying to register these small e-bikes and trying to bring some sanity to the behavior of the riders of those things. Usually they go on sidewalks, and our officers in downtown, they do stop them if they see a bad derelict behavior from any of those people who are driving those things, and they don't hesitate from issuing them tickets. I think on the weekly reports from Mr. Kaladi's team, I have seen many tickets have been issued to those kind of, derelict behavior. Mr. Kaladi, do you want to add anything to that?
Now, I just want to speak to David. Hey, David, do you mind, what community do you live in? The gentleman that had a question about the stop signs.
College Park Woods.
Okay. So we also manage the speed review citations for the city of College Park, meaning the College Park contract officers. We probably review over several thousand every month. Under Maryland law, we have 14 days to approve the citations once the vendor or once the violation occurs. Those are vehicles that are registered in the state of Maryland. Any other vehicle, we have 30 days to approve the citation. But in doing so, the vendor has to contact MVA, get the owner's information, process that on the citation, and then forward it to the police officers so we can either approve or reject the citations. So I can tell you right now, if you're going to add a program regarding individuals running stop signs, it would most likely work the same avenue that we do for speed violations. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can assure you we look at thousands and thousands of citations every month, and they either get approved or rejected. So it's something that we can handle as a organization. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't see any further questions here. Anybody here in person had any question?
I've been raising my hand, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's it's Oscar Gregory.
I apologize. Please go ahead.
Appreciate it. I understand, if I'm looking at this correctly, this is a car-centric monitoring system. Is that correct?
That's right. This focuses on driver behavior.
Right. There are other drivers, as Mr. Dorsch had pointed out, and there's but that your gizmo is only relative to cars. Something that you could go through the DMV and register, get information from a driver, because obviously you got license plates, and go through the DMV and issue citations. There's nothing having to do with pedestrians crossing in the middle of the streets, as your video showed. There's nothing having to do with scooters, nothing having to do with motorcycles, nothing having to do with bicycles. In fact, I'd love to be able to see where your information is coming from. If it's a, you know, if it's your own information that you're collecting in terms of violations, or if it's, you know, if it's verified against another entity, that'd be kind of interesting to see. One of the things I will note, along with what Mr. Dorsch said, was one of the places that I've seen an egregious amount of bicycle violations, traffic violations, is on Rhode Island and New Hampshire Avenue. They seem to cross, at least back then, they seemed to cross the University Boulevard onto Rhode Island Avenue with impunity. And in a lot of cases, they've almost caused accidents. However, your solution is very narrow, as I take it. The question then becomes, is it just a Band-Aid to help with the current system that there is right now, maybe diversify it to other streets, or is there anyone going to take charge and, if we're talking about safety, be able to address those other forms of transportation? It used to be a long time ago, pedestrians that crossed the middle of the street would get citations for jaywalking. I've yet to see anybody get a ticket for doing that, and risky behavior just for folks that they're traveling and walking pedestrians. To David Dorsch's point also, I have a good friend of mine whose husband's disabled, was on the sidewalk, and almost got run off the sidewalk onto oncoming traffic by scooters. So is there any plans to address these other kind of violations? So thank you very much.
So I can answer some of that from just a technology perspective, but I think in terms of the broader traffic safety plan, might be better for the municipality. In terms of our technology, that's right. You know, like right now, a lot of the focus is on stop sign violations, and as you mentioned correctly, when we take a license plate, we check it against the DMV, and use that to mail out the citation. For something like jaywalking or someone riding a scooter or a bicycle, it's a lot harder for us, as we don't use any sort of facial recognition or anything like that. And so being able to actually cite somebody is a challenge. However, one of the things that we can do is sort of like count pedestrians, count the number of violations that are happening, outside of just stop signs. And with that sort of count, that's information that we can use from an aggregate traffic study level to share with the police department in terms of, where are the violations happening? Generally, these sort of systems are meant to be ways that you can give time back to the police department. You don't have to have them waiting out by stop signs if that problem is covered, and they have the ability to be more responsive to community concerns, and also ideally have a little bit more data to understand where the problems are. And so, I'm not, I can't speak on behalf of the municipality and their plans for these other broader violations, but I certainly hope that our technology can help with both strategic insights in terms of the data, as well as giving time back to law enforcement so that they can focus on other issues that are harder for technology to answer.
So that was a good response. David, I don't have the law in front of me, but we must adhere to the law set by the Maryland General Assembly for the state of Maryland. The law is very specific. We can only issue citations by cameras for red lights and speed. That's the law. The law has nothing to do with pedestrians, has nothing to do with scooters running the sidewalks, et cetera, et cetera. So I would ask you that Google the law. It's very clear on what we can use a camera system for in the state of Maryland regarding citations. But I will do this. I'm going to ask Sergeant Weincoop, who's sitting next to me, just to speak very briefly about scooters, on where they can be and where they cannot be, because there is a difference between electronic and gas scooters under law.
under recently, the e-scooters can go on the sidewalks. There's not a law against it. Your gas scooters, Maryland has changed the law where they have to be registered and they have to be insured as well. So therefore, when we see them untagged or unregistered, we have been conducting many stops on them and issuing the violations. The gas scooters cannot be on the sidewalks, but they can operate in the bike lanes and they can operate in the roadway. So hopefully that assists you on your question.
And just real briefly, I just want to, if you look at the weekly report that we send out by the activity, and it's not all the activity generated by the contract officers, you'll see in there where we do stop many, and I will say this, many scooters, and on the average scooter will, that driver or that operator of that scooter will receive 7 state citations because they're in violation of the law for many items, such as they don't have a license, the scooter's not registered, they don't have insurance, and they're not wearing a helmet. So on the average, most scooters usually receive 7 citations. So I hope that answers your question. Maybe we can get on to the next item.
Have a assessment.
Question, Chad.
Do you want to read that?
Yeah, I think there is a question in the chat. Eric Sussman.
Considering speed cameras, it's simple to define the violation threshold quantitatively, number of miles per hour over. Stop sign violation thresholds appear that they will be much more qualitative in comparison. Is there any way to provide more guidance to citizens on what the violation threshold is? How has this worked in practice in other communities? Is that something you can speak to, Drew?
I believe that's a question for the vendor.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great and astute question. So you're right. You know, we've worked with many different police departments all across the country, and everyone, when we ask them what is a citable offense from a stop sign, we tend to hear a little bit of a variable response. You know, not every officer enforces it the same way. That you know makes it challenging for us as vendors because it seems like there's a different perception on what every municipality wants to do. So the way that we do this is first we think about what is the letter of the law. The letter of the law is that you need to come to a complete stop for at least an instant. It doesn't say 2 seconds or 3 seconds, but it's actually very easy to see when the wheels come to a complete stop, and it needs to happen before or at that stop line. And so our algorithm's threshold is meant to look for that complete stop. Now, the second thing that we do is that we actually rank all the different kinds of stop signs based on, you know, high, medium, and low thresholds, you know, pretty much correlated with speed. And when we distribute them to the municipalities for approval, we start by focusing on the highest egregious violations first, and also sort of limit, in some ways, artificially limit the total number of warning letters and citations going out, because there's no need to spam the entire community with 3,000 citations and warnings on low issue rolling stops. And so in practice, you know, our goal is to encourage communication and in all of our videos and even in our website, we have guidance on, you know, what is a complete stop. And that means, you know, come to a complete stop, the wheels of your car stop turning. That's the recommendation that we have. Now, in terms of what's actually cited, we will work with the municipality and the police departments to help basically calibrate and determine what they want to be cited. So as they go through and they approve the videos that we present them, it's sort of up to their discretion, you know, which is similar to how they would be operating if they were walking on the street and looking to give someone a stop sign violation. So from a technology, just to summarize, as a technology vendor, we follow the letter of the law, which is come to a complete stop. We rank them and try to focus on the highest severity violations, and then we give it back to police department to actually make the final decision and approval, which sort of mimics the way that you know, they enforce things today.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Sussman? Yeah. Looks like it. Ms. Magnus, do you have a question or a comment?
Oh, it says please stop the screen
I
sharing.
would like to be able to see people. This screen sharing is not, it has nothing to do with the discussion and the questions that are happening. If I had a question, there would be no way for me to do it because my current version of Zoom, which is the most current on my iPad, I can't find a raised hand option. Thank you. Yeah, I just get a little bit frustrated when a screen sharing is left on and it really is not adding anything to the discussion.
Carol, if you have a question, just raise your hand on the screen. We'll look at it and then call on you. Raise your hand, your real hand.
Not the virtual.
Muted.
All right, can we move on with the presentation?
Yeah.
So that was all that I had from a presentation standpoint.
So if anybody has any question, this is the last call.
Carol wants to ask question. Unmute yourself.
You are muted, Carol.
Then Mary Ann on it.
It's not, there we go.
Invite.
There you
Can
go.
you type your question in the, or comment in the chat again, please?
Oh.
Thank you.
You're muted.
Uh,
He's yelling.
Go to Mary Ann.
Carol, we'll come back to you. Mary Ann.
I think
Yeah.
let's move on.
I had a request actually, and I don't know if this is the place to put it, but when I am walking south on Rhode Island Avenue and get to University Boulevard, I will press the walk indicator so I can cross University safely. If I wait until that green light comes on with the little green man and says, walk, 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 I can't make it all the way across University Boulevard, and I am not creeping along. I mean, I'm walking at my regular pace. To do it, you have to trot, if not run. What I usually do is wait until the northbound cars, I look over by the 7-Eleven and see that everybody who's going to be making their left turn has cleared the intersection. I start out, I can get to the middle divider, and then the green part comes on, and I proceed to cross. If they could just extend that time there a few seconds longer or minutes longer, I don't know what it does to traffic. There's a lot at that intersection, I know, but it would be a lot safer because otherwise you get, if people do it the safe way, they will cross halfway and wait on the divider and then wait for the traffic signal for everybody to cycle through again to finish crossing the second part of University Boulevard. So I don't know if it's possible. I don't know how long they would extend it, maybe a minute, a few seconds. I don't know how they decide how long these crossing periods are, but it would help a lot, I think.
I would second that. It makes it very difficult with a baby stroller
Yep.
to get across.
Mary Ann, I think Major Colletti would like to address this question.
Good.
So you were talking about the intersection of Rhode Island and University Boulevard?
Exactly.
Okay, that's the state highway. Those traffic signals are maintained and regulated by the State Highway Administration, but I'm sure the city can make contact with the State Highway Administration and ask them if they can do a study to look at that intersection and look at the times. They do have their guidelines that they must follow regarding traffic, but I think they will be willing to come out and do a study and see if the times need to be extended. Mary, that's a very good question, and I'm sure the city will follow up. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions for Drew?
Major?
Yes, sir.
I have a follow-up question, and so I appreciate you letting folks know here that you follow the state law. Have you seen, and the question is, have you seen any communities or any cities that have ordinances or ordinances that address traffic, pedestrian or otherwise?
To the top of my head, I'm going to say I don't believe so. You have to
Okay.
understand, all traffic laws is under the Articles of Transportation, under the state law book.
Right, so if we're gonna go follow, if we're gonna go change the traffic laws to be able to incorporate, again, we're talking, at the end of the day, we're talking about unsafe behavior in moving around, making sure that both pedestrians, whoever's moving around is gonna be safe, to the point of this gentleman here that's presenting his camera thing. Then it would be beholden on us to contact our state legislators and amend the transportation bill, make sure that we include those things so that you have your tools to be able to enforce further the traffic safety all the way around, not just for cars. I've had, again, motorcycles and pretty regularly, and bicycles go in between lanes at a stop sign. They just scoot on out. And so it's very unsafe. So so we as a community would probably need to get a hold of our state legislators. I'm just wondering if you've seen any other place that at the county or municipal level that they've had as I mentioned, ordinances, for instance, to be able to address some at the municipal level, some kind of ticket or infractions or some kind of penalty issued. So and the answer is you haven't heard anything. So thank you, appreciate it.
And David, I like your questions. You got some good questions. I'm sure a lot of people probably have the same questions. But just regarding, and I'm real familiar with the speed program, we do cite motorcycles on the speed program. So motorcycles that go 12 miles or over will be cited also. Now, the big thing is this, and I just want to stress this to everyone on here, is that not every vehicle has a good license plate or registration. Those citations always are rejected. A lot of people switch tags on their vehicles, but I just wanted to emphasize that we do cite motorcycles.
David, go ahead.
I just have one question. Are bicyclists required to stop at red lights?
Or what?
Bicyclists required to stop at red lights?
Yes.
Okay. What we have is almost every place I've been around, especially in this area lately, the bicyclists, if there's no car that they see coming, they just drive right on through like there was no light there at all.
So I don't know if everybody heard that. The question was, does bicycles have to stop at red lights? The question is yes. Can we start the crime presentation?
So, Dhruv, do you want to say any final words?
No, just thanks all for the time and the feedback. We have done this pilot in 9 different locations, and there's a few that seem to be good candidates for this kind of program. So, as we continue moving forward, would love to hear from anyone. If anyone has any questions or concerns, we'd love to chat and hear more.
Yeah. Thank you, Dhruv. Appreciate your time and efforts. Larry, floor is yours.
Next slide, please. Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody had safe holidays over the last couple of months. We'll start with December. This is our stats, our crime stats for the city of College Park only. It's for December. The slide that you're looking at is the overview slide of crime that occurred in the city. We had 3 commercial robberies. We had 1 citizen robbery. We had 5 assaults. A few of those are domestic related. We had 12 theft from autos. We had 20 other thefts. And we also had 7 auto thefts.
Major Coletti,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I believe Ms. Magnus suggested that you stop sharing screen and we now can't see what you're referring to.
You're not seeing the document?
You're
No.
not seeing it on the screen?
No,
No.
we're not seeing the document.
Thank you.
All right, just if everybody can just stand by for a minute, I think Sharon's going to look into it real quick. Thank you for bringing that up.
We got it now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back real quickly so everybody can, since everybody can see it. These are the crime stats for the month of December in the city of College Park only. We've had 3 commercial robberies. We had 1 citizen robbery. We had 5 assaults. Some of those were domestic related. We had 2 commercial burglaries. We had 12 theft from autos, 20 other thefts, and 17 auto thefts. And when we talk about property crimes, I just want to say that burglaries, we had a decrease from 4 to 2 incidents in December compared to November. We had an increase in theft from autos. We went from having having 10 to 12. And there was a decrease in auto thefts from 10 to 7. Next slide, please.
Major, were any of those people caught?
I will ask you questions after the slide presentation. If everybody can just hold off. The next slide is just identifying we had our commercial robberies and our citizen robberies. And what I'll do is I'll explain some of the details reference to our commercial robberies and also our citizen robbery. So the first commercial armed robbery we had was on December 2nd at 3:44 p.m. It occurred at the 4600 block of Drexel Road. A employee of FedEx was making a delivery. She was approached by a suspect who implied that he had a firearm. He demanded her keys to her truck. He removed 2 packages from the vehicle and fled the scene. That case is still in an active investigation. The second commercial robbery was on December 3rd at 3:45 hours in the morning. 3 suspects entered the 7-Eleven located in the 8900 block of Rhode Island Avenue. They forced the employees to lay on the ground. The suspects stole the ATM machine and made good on their flee. That case is still active. I will say this, that this incident, along with others, are related to a crew that's hitting the DMV. It's an active investigation, and we also have our federal partners working with us. We have made several arrests, but in this one case, we have not. The third commercial armed robbery occurred on December 24th at 01:30 in the morning at the 7-Eleven in the 4900 block of Edgewood Road. The victim, who was an employee, was standing outside taking a cigarette break. 2 suspects approached, forced him inside the 7-Eleven. They tried to open the ATM machine. They were unable to get inside of it, and they fled the scene. Now, our only citizen robbery we had in the city was on December 9th at 10 o'clock at night. The victim was walking in the 8000 block of Rhode Island Avenue. 2 suspects approached him. One displayed a handgun and demanded his property. Once they retrieved his property, they fled the scene. We were able to track their movement by using the city camera system, but that case right now is still open as an active investigation. So the 4 robberies are still active and they're being currently investigated. Next slide, please, Sharon. So this is just a slide I'm not going to get into about the assaults, but we had 5 assaults in December in the city. Next slide, please. These are the 2 commercial burglaries that we've had in the city for the month of December. I'll just briefly talk about them. On December 23rd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a report was made that the extra space storage unit was broken into in the 9600 block of Baltimore Avenue. They broke into 6 separate storage lockers. That's still being investigated. The second burglary was in the 10,000 block of Baltimore Avenue. That occurred on December 26th at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's when it was reported. The cafe reported that someone entered their their establishment by breaking the front glass, and they stole the cash out of the cash registers. That's still being investigated. Next slide, please. Just an overview of the theft from autos and the other thefts that occur in the city. Next slide, please. Just a view of the auto thefts in the city. And if everybody just pays attention, you can see that a lot of them are occurring down the Baltimore Avenue corridor. I will speak, this has nothing to do with the city of, well, it does have something to do with the city of College Park, but investigators are currently looking at a crew that are committing the theft from autos. Next slide, please. Just a heat map outlining some of the crimes regarding just crime in the city overall. Next slide.
No, it's just noise.
Next slide. This is outlining our field interviews, which means the contract officers are stopping individuals they believe are acting in a suspicious manner. They do what we call a field interview, and it's documented under our RMS system. So we stopped 20 people in the city in December that we thought were acting suspicious, or we received a call from the public alerting us to this activity. Next slide, please. Just a graph looking at violent crimes and nonviolent crimes in the city for the year of 2024. Next slide. Just our crime stats for the year of 2024 broken down by month and category. We'll leave it up there for a couple of minutes so everybody can take a look at it. And I do just want to just briefly tell everyone who's not aware, I think back in November, we had 3 robberies, 3 citizen armed robberies in Hollywood, along with a armed carjacking. Regarding those arrests or those incidents, and 2 of the citizen armed robberies we made an arrest in. The 3rd citizen armed robbery, we identified the suspects, but unfortunately, we lack probable cause to prosecute that individual at this time. And we also made an arrest in the armed carjacking in Hollywood. Next slide, Sharon, please.
I think those are definitions, I believe.
Yeah, these are just definitions of what people usually ask us, kind of explain what an assault is, what a burglary is, or a breaking and entering. We'll leave that up so everybody can view that. And while everybody's looking at that, I'll just say that when we look at violent crimes for the month of December, robberies, we saw a decrease from 5 to 4 incidents in December compared to November, but there was an increase in assaults where we went from 3 to 5. And I believe that ends the presentation, and I will take questions, and I'll have Sharon call on people who have any questions, please.
Magnus, are you raising your hand or are you adjusting your screen? Mary Ann? you raising?
Yes, would there be a way for you to publish, and I know they don't want to put this in the newspaper, but I would find it very interesting. The stats that you just presented in your table, they're there, they're already formatted for perhaps 2023 and 24, or even go back further to 2022, 23, 24. So we could get an idea, are we getting better? Are things getting worse? Particular crimes. I know that the citizens aren't really involved that much with it, but if they could see that perhaps they could tighten things up around their homes as far as security or their cars, that might incentivize them because this seems to be on the rise. You know, again, people would need to learn this by reading the newspaper or somehow accessing the information and doing something for themselves. But it would provide them with information that perhaps maybe they would act on themselves to make our community safer.
Ms. Hartnett,
Yes.
all of these reports dating back to 2019 are available on the city's webpage. The monthly reports are posted, including the one that Major Coletti just read from.
Yeah, but how many people go to that website? I'm thinking that this
This-
newspaper now goes to supposedly every resident in College Park, and it's a different format to get this information out. Perhaps we could use it, maybe not every month, once a year, the end of the year, the beginning of the year. Just an idea.
Take that under consideration.
Mary, I mean, that's a good question. I don't have a problem going back 1 or 2 years at the most. I'm not going to go back any further. But it's a legitimate question, and I don't have a problem sharing you with the total crime numbers only regarding crime in the city. I don't have a problem with that. So we could go back to 2023 and you could look at the numbers compared to 2024. That's not an issue. I would just have to talk to my crime analysis individual who's on leave until March. But yeah, if we can get the information, we do have it somewhere. I don't mind sharing it. I'm not going to share it every month. I'll share it one time a year. But it's a valid question. I think it's a good question. And I don't mind sharing the total crime stats for each year or looking at it as a comparison. So I think it's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne. I do want to recognize Dr. Esters has joined us, and also Mayor Kabir is here in person as well.
I believe Councilmember Hugh is.
Yeah, Alan is.
Alan.
Yep.
Okay, Councilmember Hugh is also there as well. Sharon, can you verify?
Denise Mitchell.
Yes, someone call my name?
Yes, ma'am, I see you.
Oh, I hear you, Mr. Gregory. Good evening.
We have a question in the room.
Yeah, we have a question here in person. Aralis, please go ahead.
Major Coletti, thank you for the presentation. My question is under the category of other theft. What exactly is other theft? Is that like home invasion kind of theft?
So home invasion would be a robbery.
Okay.
Other thefts are very simple, like shoplifting, someone who breaks into a shed, petty thefts. Somebody steals a bicycle, petty thefts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
David.
Yeah, David, please go ahead.
Major, what would you say on the average, are the percentage of all these crimes that actually somebody gets arrested?
Every crime's different. I couldn't give you an average.
Okay, so, like the car thefts? Anything like that?
I don't have that information with me.
Okay, but
Uh,
just from your background,
every crime is different. Every situation is different. Every month is different. Every year is different. It all depends. It really does.
okay,
So I can't give you a definite answer because there's no definite answer. Okay. Most stolen autos, we do not make arrests in, right? They're a crime of opportunity, but we do make an arrest. I can't give you a percentage. It wouldn't be fair. I just don't have that information.
Can you check with all the things on the virtual if they had any question or raised anybody's hand?
See any hands? Ms. Magnus was pointing. She hasn't raised any questions. Wanted to make sure. Anyone else in the room?
I think this is the last chance. If anybody has any question, please speak up.
hang on, I have a hand up. I can't.
Oh.
Dr. Mezza.
Gregory, you have another question? Comment?
Yes, ma'am. I apologize. Just real quick, Major. You said that the crime stats go back to several years, but they're on the city website. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So some folks can actually go view those statistics that going back a few years without having any problems, correct?
Sharon says correct.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No, we appreciate it.
They're not averages based on the questions that have been raised this evening, but the reports for each month are there. And
if you, Sharon, if you could please post the link, collegeparkmd.gov/public safety, that is the page. People can go.
So I just want to say there's some good questions tonight, David and Mary Ann. I appreciate your thoughtful questions. I'll try to get the crime stats for the last, I will try maybe last 2 years. I probably won't be able to get them until, I can't promise you when. I gotta wait till my crime analysis individual gets back to work, and he'll probably be bombarded with a lot of other assignments. But we'll get those out in the next couple months, just so that our next meeting, not the meeting in March, maybe April, we'll try to get the information out at that meeting so everybody could see it. Very a good question. And just so you know, we do look at crime trends as a police agency. I probably get 15 different reports every morning sent to me, looking at everything from response times to any type of trend that occurs in the county. I can tell you what months we have more robberies compared to other months. And that's how we use our staffing as a county agency regarding overtime and officers that are working special assignments. And that in itself affects the city of College Park itself. So thank you.
Yeah, so this brings closer to both of our presentations. If anybody still have any questions, please do not hesitate to drop me an email. My email address is on the website under Public Services Department, and we would be glad to research any information that anybody wants to seek from us. We'll try our best. So next meeting is going to be in Davis Hall, location, same hybrid scenario. And that's where the next meeting is going to be. And it'll happen on the first Monday of every month until December.
Then we'll come back here. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We're displaced from March because of other meetings.
Yeah.
And
So this place is booked for that. That's why we have it at Davis Hall.
So March meeting will be only at Davis Hall. Davis Hall meeting will be only in the month of March, and then we'll
Yeah.
come back to city.
Yeah. So yeah, what Mayor is pointing out is like, it's just the March meeting that is going to be at Davis Hall in a hybrid format. But after that, like April till December, we are back in this room here. So we encourage, if you can make it possible to be here, we would love to see you here in person.
And before we leave, since we had some real good questions, is there any information you guys would like to see that you're currently not seeing? And I can tell you whether we can do it or not, but I'm open for suggestions. So is there any type of stats you're not seeing that you would be interested in seeing?
Yeah. I think Major Colletti, do you want to talk about that you do have 2 additional officers that have recently joined, and then we kind of, we are in a better
Sure.
scenario?
It just made a good point. We did hire 2 additional officers to work for the contract program. They'll of course be working part-time for the city, but we did hire 2 new officers, and we're looking at probably filling 2 more spots or 2 more positions. But if there's any information you guys would like to see, if you can get it to the city, we'll try to see if we can provide that information. Does anybody have any information that's online right now that they would like to see that they're currently not seeing?
You keep the major, sorry, we keep the stats on the loud muffler noise violations, right?
Yes,
Yeah, is
we
it?
do keep, we can provide that. It's no problem. I personally do that myself, so.
Lots of people ask that question, how many
Yep.
citations? Our contract officer do a fantastic job.
Yep.
going for them.
I also
Good question.
I also want to make a statement here that if anybody in any of their communities, they see a need for a more patrol from our officers, please do not hesitate. Shoot us an email and we'll be glad to look at it and do what is necessitated for that kind of behavior, how we can curb that. I think in last meeting, there were 1 or 2 locations which were provided back to Major Colletti, and he had increased the patrols on that. But we strongly encourage if you guys are encountering any unsafe behavior by any of the motorists, we would love to hear that, and please send us an email so that we can appropriately put our resources to curb that kind of behavior.
Thank you.
Todd?
Thank you. And thank you again for reinstituting these monthly meetings, and thanks to the the police officers for showing up, and thanks to everybody for showing up. We've had these meetings and they were a lot smaller. The groups were a lot smaller in the past, so it's nice to see so many people. One thing I was happy to hear tonight is Major Colletti's report on the arrests from the armed violence or the armed incidents here in Hollywood in November and December. That's really good news. And, I think, like it or not, there's a lot of social media chatter about these crimes, and which tends to be kind of bad news. And I don't know, for better or for worse, those of us here tonight know the good news that some arrests were made. But a lot of people who are not here tonight, who might just get this just from social media, don't know that good news. And I don't know if there's a way to get that word out there. I don't know what the answer is. If people are willing to go back to the social media posts and note that arrests were made. I just wanted to point out, I think there's kind of a gap there that we hear a lot of bad news on social media about these crimes, and we may not hear the good news, that our police have made arrests. So I'm just putting that out there. I don't know if anybody has any good ideas on how to kind of close that loop.
If I may, Todd, thank you for raising that point. I have seen those social media posts as well. So if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, the city published a news what is it called, press release with the news of the arrests in Hollywood, and it has some detailed information. So maybe everyone in this group, we could share that with the as well. There are lots of good things that oftentimes I'm not shared with the community. So we all need to do our job on that. Thank you.
Yeah, Todd, perhaps Major Colletti could include those statistics when he puts together the crime statistics. That would be really beneficial to say, yes, this happened, but here's what, the police have done, and we've made the community safer because of that.
Well, I'll just tell you this. I will only give you information regarding major crimes when we make an arrest. The hours that it's spent, that I would take for me to look at every crime, every arrest that's made in the city, because not all the arrests are made by contract officers. They're also made by investigators and by beat officers who are working for me in the division. You can only imagine how many arrests we make every day, every week. So I would never provide information regarding every arrest we make, but I do provide information regarding some of the major crimes, some of the crimes I believe members of this community are interested in. So if we do make a good arrest or a string of, let's say, theft from autos or stolen autos, we'll talk about that. But it would be almost impossible for me to talk about every arrest or every case closure that we have. But I do bring up time to time some of the more important incidents.
I have a question, Major, if you may. So you made some good news, shared some good news about the recruitments of new contract officers. Are they kind of backfill of the vacant positions, or are you adding new positions?
So what's happening is officers get transferred, they get promoted. Some officers that are currently work for us can only work a limited number of hours, like reduced hours. So what we did is we hired 2 more people to backfill those hours.
Right.
So we can get back to the number of hours we were using every month.
So you still have 15.5 FTE equivalent officers in contract program?
I'm sorry.
We still have 15.5 FTE?
Yeah, that is correct. So we have had difficulties to bring them on. I think there were 1 or 2 occasions, probably last week, someone was called in by the command post, and then somebody got sick. On that particular day, he, kind of shoot out an email to all the people in his group, and none of them volunteered. So we were a person short on that night. So like these things do happen, but then again, if somebody is sick, is not capable, it's just not worth it to bring that person.
Yeah, so I mean, those are just they only happen a handful of times throughout the year.
Yeah, I never had.
But we always have more than one officer working anyway, so it's not like the city doesn't go unprotected with the contract program. There's always officers working.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you for your leadership. Appreciate that.
All right, folks. Next meeting in Davis Hall in the same format, and you all have a great evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for hosting. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Jyoti,
Thank you, Sharon.
officers.